In today's video we shall discuss about radioactive pollution. But before that, do subscribe to my channel and let me know your opinions and suggestions in the comment box. So what is radioactive pollution? It happens due to the release of radioactive substances into the environment during nuclear explosions and nuclear weapons testing, production and decommissioning of nuclear weapons, the mining of radioactive minerals, the handling and disposal of radioactive waste and accidents at nuclear power plants. What are radioactive pollutants? Radioactive contamination sources include the mining and testing of radioactive materials, nuclear power stations, nuclear weapons, as well as medical diagnostics and treatment procedures. The key causes of emissions are radionuclides. They release beta particles and gamma rays, radioactive substances, etc. Sources of radioactive pollution. The majority of background radiation originates from rocks, and a small fraction comes from human-made elements. Naturally occurring radioactive minerals contain background radiation in the earth, soil, and water. Some of these naturally occurring radioactive minerals are also present in the human body. Causes of radioactive pollution are nuclear accidents from nuclear power plants, usage of radioisotope, mining sectors, radiation checks, and defensive weapon development. Now let's discuss each of them in detail. Nuclear accidents from nuclear power plants. Different sources of energy are being discovered in the postmodern world. Among them is nuclear energy, which, due to its high latent strength, is touted as the most efficient source of energy. Usage of radioisotope. For the development of detectors and in other manufacturing operations, radioisotopes are used. Isotopes like uranium have high radiation concentrations in them. On the other hand, common isotopes such as radioactive material containing carbon can be easily discovered via sewage lines in waterways. Mining sectors. Mining primarily includes the mineral ores being excavated, which are then divided into smaller, manageable parts. Radium and uranium, for example, are naturally occurring and similarly radioactive in the environment. Radiation checks. It has been shown that radiation has a lot of fascinating properties, which has inspired a lot of scientists to perform experiments to learn more about it. It is one of the main elements in cancer cure and treatment. Defensive weapon development. Generally, the manufacturing of defensive weapons capable of releasing radioactivity from the nuclear materials treated poses a high health risk. However, unless an event happens, the existing guidelines would not allow the release of any substantial amount of radiations. Effects of radioactive pollution are diseases, infertility of soil, burns, etc. Radioactive pollution also affects the plant and animal life. Diseases. The most dominant illness linked to radiation is cancer. Over the years, it has grown and poses a great danger to global health. Others include leukemia, anemia, hemorrhage, a decline in the lifespan leading to premature aging and premature death, as well as other complications such as cardiovascular disease. For example, leukemia is caused in the bone marrow by radiation. Infertility of soil. Radiation exposure to the environment means that it is present even in the soil. The radioactive contaminants in the soil react together with the various nutrients that cause the nutrients to be lost, making the soil highly toxic and infertile. Such soil contributes to the harvesting of crops that are riddled with radiation and thus unfit for human and animal consumption. Burns. It is not easy to experience radiation, but it is easy to know that it has shaped you. Evidence is the acute appearance of burns, red lesions, and sores. This will result in skin cancer, to make it worse. Effects on plant and animal life. Plants are also exposed to radiation, and much of the damage is caused by increased UV waves. Similar plants are differently affected. During the rise in radiation, the stomata avoid evaporating. Reproduction is hindered when the radiation reaches the chromosomes. In plants, it results in altered types, sizes, and health. So how can we prevent radioactive pollution? Waste containment in radiation-shielded containers that are typically buried underground. Radiation waste isolation in remote areas, such as remote caves or abandoned mines, which may also require the use of barriers of some sort. The waste should be diluted until the background values are reached if the first two solutions are not feasible. Now let's discuss about two of the greatest nuclear disasters of all time. Chernobyl Disaster. The Chernobyl disaster was a nuclear accident that occurred on Saturday, April 26, 1986, at the No. 4 reactor in the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, near the city of Pripyat in the north of the Ukrainian SSR in the Soviet Union. It is considered the worst nuclear disaster in history both in terms of cost and casualties. Fukushima nuclear disaster. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster was a 2011 nuclear accident at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in Okuma, Fukushima Prefecture, Japan. The proximate cause of the disaster was the 2011 Tohoku earthquake and tsunami. Frank N. von Hippel, a U.S. scientist, commented on 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster, saying that fear of ionizing radiation could have long-term psychological effects on a large portion of the population in the contaminated areas. Evacuation and long-term displacement of affected populations create problems for many people, especially the elderly and hospital patients. Such great psychological danger does not accompany other materials that put people at risk of cancer and other deadly illness. Visceral fear is not widely aroused by, for example, the daily emissions from coal burning, although, as a National Academy of Sciences study found, this causes 10,000 premature deaths a year in the U.S. population of 317,413,000. Medical errors leading to death in U.S. hospitals are estimated to be between 44,000 and 98,000. It is only nuclear radiation that bears a huge psychological burden, for it carries a unique historical legacy.